Today we are going to be learning about the properties of logarithms. There are four common properties we can use for condensing logarithms. They are the zero exponent rule, the product rule, the quotient rule, and the power rule. The zero exponent rule states that 0 equals log base a 1, and the product rule states that log base ax plus log base ay equals log base a x times y. The quotient rule states that log base ax minus log base ay equals log base a x over y, and the power rule states that y times log base ax equals log base ax to the y power. These same four properties can be used for expanding logarithms, and it's important to remember that the logs must have the same base in order to condense. Now that we know all the basic properties, we can do a couple examples. For our first example, we can use the product rule in order to combine these two logs, and what we should end up with is log base 8 5 times 7. Then we can further simplify and get log base 8 35, or roughly 1.7. For our second example, since the logs are being subtracted from one another, we know that we can use the quotient rule in order to solve this. After we combine the logs, we end up with log 6 4 over 2, or log 6 of 2, and that simplifies to roughly 0.4. For our final example, since log base 7 of 5 has a coefficient of 2, we know that for this particular log, we have to use the power rule. All we have to do is move the coefficient 2 to the exponent of 5. What we end up with now is log base 7 of 5 squared, or log base 7 of 25, which is roughly 1.7. An additional thing that you want to remember is when condensing logs with rational exponents, you want to rewrite those exponents or fractions as radicals. So what we're going to want to do for this example is move all the coefficients to the exponent position. After we do that, our equation should look like this. And now we can continue condensing. Next, what we're going to use is the quotient rule in order to simplify because the logs are being subtracted from each other. If you're following along, what you should have done was moved both y to the 8th and z to the 5th to the bottom and kept x to the 1/2 on top. And since x to the 1/2 has a fraction in the exponent position, we're going to want to rewrite it as a radical. After rewriting it, our final answer is log base 2 of the square root of x over y to the 8th, z to the 5th. Now here's an example for you to try out on your own. If you'd like, you can pause the video here. If you did all the steps correctly, you should have gotten this as your final answer. And that concludes today's lesson.